Hey garden friends, today we are going to do a tour of the front entrance garden, what it's looking like right now. Now I do not primp the gardens for these tours. These are a record or a journal of where they are at through the summer. Now this is, as I said, the entrance front garden. This is where I park. This is where I walk through. My Eden rose is doing gorgeous. And yeah, I just want to journal where things are at. And there's things that need to be deadheaded. There are things that need to be weeded out. I want you to see that you can still enjoy a beautiful garden without having it be picture perfect. And I just want you to enjoy your garden and not have it control your life and or your enjoyment of it. Now, let's get rolling, walking through all of the gardens, all of the entrance garden. If you're new here, my name is Pam and I garden in the mountains of Northern California. My zone is 8B, yet I have a shorter growing season than you would imagine. Now, I also have a blog called flowerpatchfarmhouse.com where you can get a lot of information on growing a garden, and I will confess I don't usually or always follow the rules. You will find rules throughout the gardening world. And for me, rules are meant to be broken. I garden in a way that works here in my conditions, and I don't follow a formula that you will find out there in the gardening world. So let's get rolling on the entrance garden tour. I'm going to do things a little bit different this time around. Many times I just take my camera and I walk around and I explain the plants, but I'm going to do some on camera where I'm talking to you and then some of that where you get the close-ups. So back here, this area here is what I call my goth garden. I'm going with dark foliage, dark flowers down here. You might be able to see it. I have a jazz hands fringe flower. It is that's really soft. I might have gophers in there. It's struggling right now, but it's freshly planted and then we got super hot. So I've been trying to keep moisture on it. And then also the hollyhocks I have here, like night watchman or black watchman, something like that. It's supposed to be dark flowers. I have some black mondo grass to put in here, but that is, yeah, that goth garden. Now I had thought of fencing it, and because I didn't like the driveway, but I don't want to block everything. So I'm just using it as a screen, the plantings I have here. I have my dwarf Alberta spruces I've put over here. They're in pots, and they kind of block or stop the eye from going too far down into the driveway. So just little tricks like that, yeah, make it all come together. My rhododendron over there, it has finished blooming. I need to deadhead it. But it was so beautiful this year, just gorgeous. So I'm going to take you along, get you some close-ups of the area where my house faces this way. We look out towards the forest, but here I have flowers, roses, etc. We'll get a look at those. And we'll talk about some things I'm thinking of. Also, I need some help. I need some help from you guys identifying a rose I have. The closest thing I have found that it could be is Fruity Pebbles, but even that kind of the rose shape isn't exactly the same. But we'll talk about that in a minute. See this rose? This is the rose. This was when I ordered it. I had ordered Jasmina, which is an arbor rose, Cortez arbor rose. This is definitely not Jasmina. I had ordered it from Heirloom Roses. They replaced it because this wasn't it, but I don't know what this is. Now it starts out very peachy, a solid peach color, and then as it matures or gets more sun, let me see if I can pull this down. You see how it's more yellow and then the pink around the petals, and it's very lush. I mean, there's full fluffy petals. And I'll show you some of the buds. You see the buds here? Can you see them? They're beautiful. They're an orange with a fuchsia running through them. Yeah, I just would love to identify it and know what it is. Down here, I did get Tangerine Skies, a climber. It's very small, but oh boy, this bloom before it faded was the most beautiful, I don't know, like orange. I mean, tangerine skies is a perfect name for it. Now I haven't getting it where it's starting to, I want it to climb up here. I'm going to have a board that goes across. I have these tree stakes that I use as fence posts. I'm going to put support across, and I'm going to train these to go across the top of that. So that's an idea for that. If you haven't seen my Rose Alley or Rose Cottage Garden tour, you need to go see that. I will link it in the description box below. It is just gorgeous right now, and you will be amazed. It's only 2 years old. So here we are. I'm getting a close-up of, here's the goth garden. You can see the fringe flower down there. You can see it's struggling, but I think it'll come through. As long as that isn't gopher tunnels there. I probably should dig up and see and make sure that is what's going on. I did this Japanese maple back here just to see how I liked it. I do love it here, so I'm going to put it in a larger pot and leave it there. The rhododendron, you can see how many blooms were on it. It's putting on new growth. It's just beautiful. Hollyhock, I pruned up some of the leaves that had rust. Look at this iris. Most of my iris are nearly done, and that is my let me see. That was one. It's a yellow David Austin rose. I know the name will come to me in a minute. So yeah, there's that rose. Just beautiful. I guess I should get a close-up of it. Let me get up there. So you see that? Let me get a close-up of the buds. Let me pull them down here so we can see them better. Look at that. Now, the one thing I really, really love about this rose is it blooms all summer long. And we've been getting some hot heat, true heat, and it doesn't scorch. Now, this one down here did scorch a little bit, so I know it's a little more sensitive to the heat. While I'm up here, I'm just going to give you a pan of this upper flower bed that's by the fence. I'm not going to paint the fence or stain it. I like the natural look. I will probably put some deck protectant on it, that just so for longevity. But look at that delphinium. A friend grew this from seed. She'd never grown anything from seed, and she grew it on her kitchen table, a little light off of Amazon, and she did a beautiful job and gave that to me. Look at these are some more David Austin roses. I have let's see, Darcy Bussell, and then there is LD Braithwaite. This is LD Braithwaite. And then over here is the Darcy Bussell, which you can see needs deadheading, and then it will keep blooming. But get a load of my Eden rose. I did a cane. I wound a cane along the top of the fence. And you notice how all of these flowers are coming up from that cane. You see there's a limb coming up. When you train a cane like this, where it's going horizontal, it will put out these laterals. And that's where you will get all the blooms. Now, if you can train it on an arbor where you're training them like at a 45-degree angle on the arbor, you will get more flowers. You notice these haven't been trained. So this coming fall, I will prune these back, and then the new growth, I will make sure it goes at a 45-degree angle. And then I'll get more roses all along the way. I'll show you the other side. It's a perfect example of how I did that. Look at this beautiful iris. Yep, as I said, the iris are nearly done. They would have lasted longer, except we had the sudden heat wave. But that's okay. I've been enjoying them. I'm going to give you a look this way of that area over there. So I'm going to crawl down from here, and we'll go and I'll show you how you train the climbing rose on the arbor for maximum bloom. Okay, can you see in there? I don't know, sometimes it wants to focus more forward. You see how that cane is going at a 45-degree angle, and that one. And you see now I have flowers here, and this one, you know, it's going this way. That is how you get it to flower more for you. Now, I did the same thing here along the fence. I got a cane from the main, and then I made it come along the fence, and you can see how all along here it put out new laterals, and at the top of those laterals are the flowers. And that's how you train a rose. Usually, I would have had this, 45-degree angles than I used to, but when I pruned it this summer or last fall, I have to prune in fall because of our heavy wet snows break down the roses. Yeah, and I should have been out here training these more. This one I should have tied in. You see it's going straight out, and that would have been better. But I could see, let me see, there's damage right here. That's going to have to come out this fall, if not sooner, depends on what I get from it. Look at this, Betty Corning clematis. I absolutely love this. This is one of the bell-shaped ones, kind of like the Raguchi. They bloom all summer long. Yeah, last year it didn't get as high, and it's just taking off this year. I'm in love. Let's go back over here. I went along the top bed. There's a lot of work that still needs to be done here, meaning I got more flowers to put in. But I've been focused on the rose cottage garden, and we are building a new greenhouse. So a lot's been going on there, and it's in a new spot, so we have to move the other one. So this iris, isn't that gorgeous? Still going strong. That had lots of blooms on it. I didn't want the coneflower echinacea here because it gets so tall it blocks the view back there. But it's gotten ahead of me, and we'll see what color it is. Last year I had a lot of pinks that were insipid. It cross-pollinated with something, another color, and it just wasn't the pretty bright pink. There's some Nepeta I put in here. There's Veronicas. This is the Millennium Allium, I do believe. I planted it in a pot because the gophers, I was afraid, would eat it. I need to divide it to give it room. More volunteer echinaceas. Look, I got a bunch of seedlings down here. I don't want them there, so I'm going to dig them up. I seeded some lettuce. Look at this. It's coming up along here. I'm going to do more along there. I'm going to have a border of lettuce. I just think that will work well. All right, let's go this way. There's another dwarf Alberta spruce. This was Australian rose iris. Did really beautiful this year. I think I cleared away this competition very well. Look at this early blooming phlox. This is a Proven Winners selection. I can't remember the name of it, but you can find them very easily. This one is supposed to be an earlier blooming than other phlox, and it is true, it does. I planted some spider flowers in there, Cleome. This tansy has not done well. People say tansy take over and become a bully. Mine has not done a thing, but that's okay. I'll just keep a little bit of it going. I did plant some penstemon. They're native here. I need to deadhead that. I don't think I'll get a rebloom, but that's okay. Next year will be tremendous. I put some pink oriental lilies in here. Look at this iris. Gorgeous. Lots of deadheading on the irises to do to keep it tidy. Gaillardias are starting. I had thought of pulling all the Gaillardias out because I was wanting this to be like the pinks and lavenders and whites, but I don't know. I might be making too much work for myself. As you can see, there's plenty of weeds that need to be taken care of. I will do so. This Jupiter's beard, this is a white, and it's gotten too big. So I'm going to prune it back, much of it, and then next year I think I'll transplant it where it can have its room. And it already put out seeds, so I got little seedlings here, like there's a seedling there I can transplant. So yeah, cutting it back hard won't, but see, it's starting to swamp other plants. Like here's another phlox, and it is trying to horn in on its room, its space. And there's an echinacea there. And look at this iris. Just gorgeous. I love that thing. Now, I have early blooming iris and mid blooming iris and some later blooming iris. So I get irises for a very long time. Get that one down there. That one's getting leaned upon by the Jupiter's beard. Yeah, don't mind my camera. And you actually need to close it. So here is a salvia that I need to take cuttings from because I want to repeat it. That hollyhock's gonna go. I am loving the spirea. It's candy corn spirea. I have a video on taking cuttings, and this is one of them that I will take cuttings from and get more. I did a video on the pond garden, and I still have a little bit of tweaking to do. You got to get rid of that gray hose. That's what used to go underneath the deck and bring water out here. But all in good time, slowly but surely. And this hose, I need to find a way. Well, actually, we're going to trench and put the hoses or pipes underneath the ground. Right now, I have to run them to my different irrigation systems. Look at this. That's Tequila Supreme Rose. I've got 4 of them lining in front of the porch. Now, this is one area that I'm questioning what I'm going to do. I have hostas in the back because this gets morning sun, afternoon shade, and that's not the best for roses. They need more sun, but so far these have done good here, and I've been enjoying them. So the peonies I would like to move, and I'm not sure what I'm going to do with them. So you can see the big weighted patch over there. That's okay. I will get to it. I will get to it. Here is where I put all my seed-grown snapdragons, orange wonder. I have geums, the Mrs. Bradshaw that I got at Bouchard Gardens, the seeds. I put some Nepeta in here. I have found Nepeta does so well for me. It is just the most fantastic plant to put in. The gophers so far have left it alone. I never say they won't eat it because you never know when they change their mind. My Queen Elizabeth rose there. I need to get that fern out of the way and give it some room. This is my Limelight Paniculata hydrangea. I need to tie it back to that pole. It's leaning forward. I tried an experiment this winter. I did not prune them back like I normally do in fall. I did have the blooms that, hung on and were kind of pretty in the winter. They dried up. But, that's why it's leaning forward, is because of the snows malforming it. So that's why I go ahead and prune them back harder in the fall so that the winter snows don't do that. And we had a very mild winter. These are petal pusher roses. Just gorgeous. They're a ground cover rose, and these will bloom all summer as well. I just transplanted that big container of supertunias that I bought March or April. I enjoyed them in my greenhouse all winter. I had them up, or not winter, but March through whatever. And yeah, they were looking sorry because they were so root bound. So I chopped them up, the roots, and plopped them in here, and we'll see if they recover. It was worth a shot. Some daisies getting ready to bloom. Some irises. I'm going to take these out. I have tons of this color. Now you see a bare spot right there? I dug out a bunch of iris and other plants, and I put my oriental lilies in there. It was an area that had just been let go and filled in on its own accord, and I was ready to start to curate it, make room for other things. So more things I need to do. Look at this. This is my raspberry cupcake. Is it my raspberry cupcake? Yeah. Rose. Beautiful. I need to deadhead it. But this thing blooms all summer long, too. This is a star or week's roses. Let me find the tag down there. I can see the tag. Let me pull it forward. Very prickly. Oh, that's Powerpuff Pink. I had wanted raspberry cupcake. Never could find it, but I found this one. And yeah, this one is just so gorgeous. I have it in a container so gophers don't eat it, but I could put it in the ground with a gopher cage. I'm doing very well with gopher cages. Look at those. I know the sun's coming through, so there's a little glare. Yeah, so this is my entrance garden. And yeah, I'm gonna walk around the roadside. Now this clematis here is going to bloom soon, and it is just gorgeous. And in my cuttings you can take in May, I'll put the link in the description box. If I don't, remind me. That is the one that I took cuttings from to root. I absolutely love this clematis. It is so vigorous. Look at it all the way up there. And when it blooms, it is just gorgeous. I want to put one on the other side as well. Here's my Raguchi clematis. This thing also blooms all summer. Lovely attribute. This is a Midland Alba rose. It's a ground cover rose. This thing, wherever it hits the ground, it will root, and it can be quite aggressive. I have it growing up. The obelisk, we made this obelisk, I don't know, 8 years ago, and I have a blog post on it, how we made it. It's just regular 2x2s. So yeah, it's held up very, very well. It's become very rustic now, but I have it sitting there so that rose can climb up it. And look at this. Now, the deer have never bothered this. I think it's because it's super prickly and it would really hurt their mouth. They're trying to. My Roseanne geranium, this one always gets very, very large. This is a daylily a friend gave me. Now, I'm not a big fan of daylilies. I'm just not. I don't know why. But it's a dear friend who gave it to me, and so there it is. I may move it. I want, I think I'm putting a shrub here that it stays evergreen and has interesting colors. Here's my Kirsten Poulsen rose. This is a vintage rose. If you saw my Rose Alley tour, you'll remember or note that I love vintage roses. I love modern roses too, but I try to incorporate both. There's more of the Cleome, and then this is a rose that I started from a cutting. It is a vintage rose. So this back here is Peggy Martin rose. It has just been here the one season, and I can't wait for it to fill in, and it's going to be trained along the fence. And I think the Peggy Martin is just a once bloomer. It may bloom for several weeks, but that's fine. The way it really puts on the flowers. Look at this pink rose. Beautiful. I can't remember which one this one was. And then I have iceberg rose right there, which needs to be supported. And there's some iris there that I need to take out. They're kind of choking out the plants in there. Elkie hardy geranium. This thing, I love this thing. This is the first year it's gotten so tall. Maybe it's fighting for sun, but it usually stays shorter to the ground. My weed patch. Look at that sedum. I love that thing. I took cuttings from it. Nope, that one was not in my cuttings video. It's one of them I cut out because it became so long. I'll have to go ahead and do another. Now this hollyhock, I don't know which one I'm going to pull out. I have a butterfly bush here. I've been wanting to remove it. I wanted to dig it out last fall. I could not. That thing is so deeply rooted. I just cut it back hard. I'm not sure what I'm going to do with it unless I get help to dig it out, because it is just a monster. So these hollyhocks seeded themselves, and I just edit whatever I don't want. Okay, you can see I was pulling out lots of iris. There was a bunch that increased in here, and I needed to remove them. My Moroccan poppy got lots more blooms. That thing blooms all summer if you deadhead it. I transplanted some snapdragons. They're not doing too hot. I think I need to make sure I give them some extra water. I kind of did it on a hot day, so it really put them at a shock. Now this is a Jupiter's beard that's growing in this area that I just wanted ground cover. So I need to cut it back, dig it up, and put it somewhere else. And you can see it's really taking over this bed. And so there you have it. The entrance garden and the roses. Now I'm going to back up here. Behind me is my rose alley. Now I'm thinking on this side of this sidewalk of taking Rose Alley and taking it up further, up to where that hollyhock is. I could probably fit 8 more roses if I did that and make that like a pathway through there. Everything in here would get moved or something. And here's my grandmother's hat rose. This is a vintage rose too. Needs deadheading. And I don't think I shared my peace rose. Look at this, is my peace rose there, and then that's Lady of Shalott in the barrel. But you see how Lady of Shalott only has blooms at the tip? So I need to put in an arbor or something in the container there. Not an arbor, but an obelisk, and then train it around it so that it will bloom, have more blooms, and be able to put out laterals. So my tests do herbavilles. And that, my friends, is the entrance garden. Let's walk along the porch where you can get a view. Sun's coming out. My clematis here, these both bloom beautifully, and now I will give them a hard prune. Yes, many people would protest that, but it works for me, and then it will rebloom in the fall. And then I just leave it. I don't prune it in the early spring. I might clean it up, but I don't give it a prune like many people do in late winter, early spring, because what grows up from the fall prune will bloom earlier if I let it be during that time. So, well, that, my friends, was the entrance garden tour for June 10th. And you know, it changes so quickly. By next week, it's going to be almost a completely different garden. But we'll see. I've got, like I said, some work to do. But that's what I enjoy, and I don't sweat it. I showed you the weeds. I showed you things that needed to be done for it to be, like if I was going to have a garden show or tour in person, I would enlist some help, and I would try to get it cleaned up a little bit more. But for here, I'm trying to share with you a real garden. I do not keep up with it all. If you could see the secret cottage garden right now, you would know what I mean. It is a mess, but that's okay. I enjoy getting in there and working on it when I can. There's other things I have to get done. I can't just work in the garden all the time, even though I would love to. I have other responsibilities, and I don't have hired help. I would love to have some hired help, but it's not in the budget. And I know that most people fall into that same category. So what is all that about? It is about just enjoying your garden, enjoying what flowers are in bloom, ignore the weeds you haven't gotten to yet, and just enjoy the moment in the garden. You know, winter will be here before we know it. Our gardens will be put to bed, and who cares? Mine's covered in snow for most of the winter, and that's why I don't have a lot of things that are more evergreen. And heaven forbid somebody says, oh, include conifers in your garden. I'm surrounded by conifers. I want something different in my garden. The dwarf Alberta spruces are different, meaning I use them up here on the deck in the winter. They're very pretty to look out my dining room and see. And so they are an element that I can move around and utilize. I will not put them in the ground because I have plenty. And you know what? I have seedlings. I have cedar seedlings. I have pine seedlings. I have spruce seedlings coming up all the time through my garden. And here in my garden, they're a weed. So yeah, somebody's screaming now because I know how much you pay for those when you buy them. But that's what it is. Now, in the future, the near future, I want to do my deck. Back deck is where we sit a lot, especially right here where I'm sitting at the moment, throughout the day when we want to take a moment and relax. In the early mornings, I'm out here doing my Bible reading, and that's just what I love to do. First thing in the morning is sit outside listening to the birds sing. But it is a chaotic mess right now, and I need to get it in order to enjoy it the most. And so that's on the radar for soon, and I will bring you along as we clean up and plant up my back deck area. So I'll see you then. Bye.